Hi, welcome to Our Highest Work, a podcast about spiritually based business and career success. My name is George Kao, and I am very excited about today's episode. We are going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is true livelihood. And perhaps this is what drew you to this podcast. And when you're thinking of Our Highest Work, a lot of people think of their career and their business, and that's certainly, I think, part of our highest work. So let me begin with a quote to consider, and the quote is from the Buddha, and the quote is this: "Your work is to discover your work, and then with all your heart to give yourself to it." That's from the Buddha. And I would say your work is to give all of your heart to the discovery and doing of your work. So your work is to discover your work, and then with all your heart to give yourself to it. So what does that quote mean for you? I'd love to know what your thoughts are in the comments. For me, it means that even the process of discovering our true livelihood is itself part of the work. It is itself part of the journey. So rather than waiting until you've discovered your perfect work before you feel like you're really living, the discovery process and the journey itself is worth living. And my opinion is that we're always actually on the discovery journey. We don't ever so the irony of it, when I call this episode True Livelihood, I'm now going to say that there actually, I don't believe, is such a thing as true livelihood. There's only truer livelihood, because it's a spiral up to heaven. As we start with ourselves, reflect, and then help a few people, and then reflect, and then help more people, and then reflect, we get wiser and more courageous and more loving until we and then we help more people until we're spiraling up to heaven. That's my image of true livelihood. It's a spiral, but instead of spiraling in, we're spiraling out, we're expanding, we're becoming more expanded, more capable, more loving, more wise, and more having more of an impact on the world. So that's what I wish for you. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, and start to talk about today. Actually, for the next couple of episodes, we'll be talking about this specific topic of true livelihood. So, true livelihood, how would I define it? Let's start with that. I define true livelihood as doing a couple of definitions for you. One is doing service that you would do for free, and yet you make a living doing it. Doing work that you would do for free because it so fulfills your heart and soul that you would do for free, and yet you make a living doing it. Another definition I'll give you is true livelihood is balanced work that fulfills you emotionally, grows you spiritually, and sustains you financially. I'll say that one more time. Balanced work. Balanced meaning there is a work-life balance rather than you working to exhaustion and throwing the rest of your life out of balance. So true livelihood is balanced work that fulfills you emotionally, grows you spiritually. So in other words, it doesn't make you compromise and do unethical things and things that your soul regrets later, but rather that it works you into virtues. Balanced work that fulfills you emotionally, grows you spiritually, and sustains you financially. So this is not a hobby. This is not volunteering, although both of those are important to round out our lives. But this is we're talking right now about your career, your business. Right? So before I go on, I invite you to comment on anything you learn in this episode. If you're going to be listening, you might as well be taking notes so that you don't just let this be yet another episode that you listen to. I have listened to so many podcast episodes. And I've gotten into the practice now of if I'm taking my afternoon walk and I'm listening to the podcast, if I hear a point that I want to remember, I stop right there on the afternoon walk and I take 20, 30 seconds to write down what that point was that I want to remember. If you're driving, obviously, listening to this, be safe. Don't don't take notes. But if you're doing something that you can't stop and take notes, maybe you're washing the dishes or whatever, what I invite you to do is after you listen to this, at the earliest next opportunity, take a pause, take 30 seconds to write down what you want to remember from this episode. If that's all you do for every episode you hear, you will be learning better than most people who listen to podcasts. If you're so lucky as to be watching the video and be able to focus and watch the video, then you might as well take as many notes as you want. What I always love to do is actually see your notes. I love to see what's actually resonating with you. If you want to join us on the notes page, the episode comments page, you can go to ourhighestwork.com/10. This is episode 10. And of course, as I mentioned, your notes will be helpful for me, but also helpful for others who are going to be checking this episode out. So I appreciate that. Okay, let's go on to today's content. And I just saw actually that Bob is here watching the episode live. So thank you, Bob, for your presence. And I know there are others who are watching and maybe not commenting yet, but thank you for being here. Okay. So there is so much I want to share with you about True Livelihood that I'm going to be sharing it in several episodes. And this is a good beginning to talk about the topic. So as I mentioned, True Livelihood is balanced work that fulfills you emotionally, sustains you financially, and grows you spiritually. True Livelihood is purposeful work, meaningful work. And what is the purpose and meaning? In my opinion, the purpose and meaning of True Livelihood is to be of real service, real and lasting service to others. And what do I mean by lasting service, by the way? What if you work, serving food. You serve someone food, they eat the food, that's it, right? There's no lasting service. But no, actually there is. If you serve the food with love, if you serve the food and try to make their day a little brighter, that is lasting service, because that actually makes a ripple effect, not only in their life for that day, but chances are they're going to be kinder to other people that they see that day, right? And you don't know what your ripple effect is. Your ripple effect goes way beyond that moment. So know that every time you are interacting with someone in your business, in your career, you are creating ripple effects that last much longer than your own life, than your own circle. So the question is, what kind of ripple effect do you want to create today? This is true whether you're sending an email, whether you are talking with someone on the phone, whether you are recording an audio or a video, whether you are writing something that will be shared with other people in the future. You are creating a ripple effect today. So just be mindful of that. So the purpose and meaning of True Livelihood is to be of real and lasting service to others. So it's not about you. It's about the cause of what you are doing. And your work is a cause. Now, True Livelihood means your work has a cause. If you're doing work that doesn't feel like it's a cause, I would say you're not, you are quite far from True Livelihood, and you can make your True Livelihood much more true. Okay, do the work that feels like a cause to you, so that it's not about you. It's about the cause. It's about the message. It's about the service, right? And this is the brilliant thing about True Livelihood. When you work into your true or truer livelihood, when it's about the cause, marketing becomes easier. Marketing becomes much more authentic, and marketing, because it's not about you anymore, even though, for example, here I am sharing a message with which I have passion. It's not about me. I don't feel it's about me anymore. Even in my own work, my George Kao coaching program, it's not about me. It's about the service that I can do for other people. And so when I do the marketing of it, I don't feel shy if someone says no to my coaching program, because it's not about me. It's about the work. It's about the cause. So when you make your work cause-oriented, you no longer feel rejected when someone says no to your product or service, because you know that they're not rejecting you. They're just rejecting the cause at the moment. They're rejecting the representation of a cause at the moment, but you know that your cause is to spread it. You see, so I hope that's helpful. That thought really changed my life and really changed my marketing when I started to see it as a cause. So I also want to thank Charisse and Karen for being here on the live video as well. I see your comments. Okay, so in another way, though, what's interesting about True Livelihood is that in another way, it's actually all about your growth. It's all about your growth, because everything you do in your True Livelihood, if it is True Livelihood, it grows you. Remember, True Livelihood grows you spiritually. So, for example, if you are building a business and you have to write an email to your audience, and that often makes us nervous, or maybe it's writing copy for your website, or maybe it's reaching out to a prospective client, okay? Or maybe it's doing some technology that's frustrating for you. I know that technology can be frustrating. All of these activities, or maybe it's doing something really mundane in your work, all of these activities, when you take on the mantle of True Livelihood, when you take on the perspective of True Livelihood, you see that it's all about growth. However mundane the work is, you can breathe into the work your attention. Make your movements as efficient as possible. Put a smile on your face and let the mundaneness of the work grow your soul by the attention and the love you give to even the most mundane tasks. That is True Livelihood. That's a big part of True Livelihood, and that's why it's all about your growth. And the most interesting thing I think about True Livelihood is that the path of true growth is through true service. So it's all about your growth through the true service of the real and lasting service to others and to the divine. This is, I'm always so touched and so grateful when I come across divine truth, because divine truth is so beautiful. Divine truth is always win-win, win-win all around, to the whole world, win-win-win. When you're in your True Livelihood, you not only are of real and lasting service to others, but you are every moment growing yourself. You're growing your soul, you're growing your capacities. And it's just so beautiful. So let's talk about each of these, true service and true growth, right? True service, that your work is a cause. The one way to ask yourself, one way to come to that cause is to ask yourself, what would you do if this were your final year on this earth? What would you do for your work if this were your final year on this earth? Now go and do that work. Go and do that work. Now I'm going to talk about the finances in a bit, right? Because one of the questions that always comes up is, well, I want to go do that work, but I've got to make a living, right? But we'll talk about that. To read and true growth, let's talk about that for a moment here. As I mentioned, true growth is not just about growing your income and becoming more confident, which is all important, and it's not about, becoming, it's not just about learning, but true growth happens in every moment. True growth is taking on the perspective of whatever I'm doing right now in this moment, let me bring my attention to it with as much excellence as I can, with as much gratitude as I can, with as much love as I can. And another way of thinking about it is constructive living, which we've been talking about for the past several weeks. If you haven't had a chance to enjoy those episodes on constructive living. I invite you to check those out. I think it was episodes 7, particularly episode 7 and episode 9. Episode 7 was my highlights about constructive living, and episode 9 was my interview with the author of Constructive Living. So check those out. But true growth, bringing your mindfulness or attention to every moment at your work, and bring as much excellence and gratitude and love as you can. What do I mean by gratitude? Even when you're doing something mundane, even if you have to take on a job that you don't like, find creative ways to be grateful, truly. It's about creativity. Find creative ways to be grateful. For example, I am so lucky that I even have this dishwashing job. I am so lucky that I'm not in a prison somewhere and having to rot in a prison, which many, many people are, and maybe unjustly in prison. Find creative ways to be grateful today for what you do. I'm so lucky that as I'm washing these dishes, I get to have, I get to enjoy the warm water. Find creative ways to be grateful for whatever you have to do. And then you'll be growing every moment, in your livelihood. So let's expand true livelihood out a bit further now. And let's talk, or I should say, let's talk about the parts of true livelihood. So true livelihood, an understanding of true livelihood and the working into true livelihood, in my opinion, requires several skills to be developed. One skill that's really, really important that maybe some people don't realize is important for true livelihood is, and by the way, just a quick note, thank you, Bobby, also for being here live and writing a comment there. So one skill is joyful productivity. That's something I've addressed a little bit in the previous episodes, and I will be addressing more in the coming episodes, joyful productivity. If you are able to be effective in your work, obviously productive using productivity tools, having a productive mindset, learning how to focus, learning to distract yourself less, learning how to work through difficult problems, those are all parts of joyful productivity. Being organized, being good at managing your time, being good at managing your projects, and taking steps and brainstorming what the little steps are of an intimidating project, overcoming procrastination, all of those are embraced, are included in what I call joyful productivity. So that is maybe a set of skills that are really important for true livelihood. Otherwise, it's a distracted livelihood. Otherwise, it's a unfocused and ineffective livelihood. Right? Another set of skills that I find to be really important for true livelihood is authentic marketing. Authentic marketing. I used to call it compassionate marketing, and I think it still is, but I'm using the word authentic marketing to be more concise about what I'm really talking about. If you don't learn authentic marketing, chances are your livelihood will always remain a hobby rather than a livelihood. It would be volunteering. It will be a hobby rather. But when you learn marketing, you can turn your hobby into a livelihood. You can turn your volunteering of whatever you're doing into a livelihood. And hopefully you'll learn to do it authentically, which we will be talking a lot about, of course, in this podcast too. Another set of skills that's really, really important that a lot of people don't realize is important for true livelihood is conscious money management. I call that conscious money flow. Conscious money management. To be aware of what are you spending money on that makes you truly fulfilled and therefore continue to spend money on those things, and what are you spending money on that is not truly fulfilling and sustainable, and to curb that spending and to not make impulse purchases, to be thoughtful. I used to, for example, in my marketing, I used to hope that my audience makes impulse purchases of my $2,000 program. Those are my, in terms of my income, those are my glory days. Several years in my business, I made $200,000, $300,000 a year because I sold dozens of $2,000 programs every month. Because I used marketing that wasn't authentic. I make people, and not just me, by the way, most of my peers, they make purchasing impulse. They want to make you buy impulsively. Have you bought impulsively? Oh my God, I got to buy this thing. It's $297. I don't even use that kind of pricing anymore. That's marketing is so much deception. The 7s and the 9s, they tell you, well, it's some kind of magical number. It's very good, spiritual. No, all that talk is they're clothing all of that in deceptive clothing. What the real thing I want you to look up on Wikipedia is psychological pricing. They're using science of influence to manipulate consumers to, when they see a 9, they think the price is less than it actually is, subconsciously. So they've got you. And you go, oh, it's less than, oh, it's only 97. It confuses the mind a little bit. And you go, oh, 97, pleasant number, I'm going to buy. No, it's $100. If you're conscious about your money and realize, okay, if I see that it's $100, then I can be more conscious about my budget, and therefore, is this truly fulfilling? Is this a sustainable and fulfilling buy? Is it truly needed? So I don't do psychological pricing anymore. I used to. It's like, I'm like, no, I'm taking a stand against that. I'm not saying that if you're doing it, you're evil. No, but I am taking a stand against that, and I'm saying let's stop psychological pricing. Look it up on Wikipedia. It's a whole science of it. 5s, 7s, and 9s, sometimes 4s, whatever. So it's mostly 95, 95, 97, 47, 49, 27, 17, 197, 297, 2997, 1997, I remember that there was a commercial, Ellen DeGeneres made fun of this in a commercial a year ago or so. Anyway, authentic marketing and conscious money flow, okay, are two really important skills, and we'll be talking a lot about both of these things. Another skill set for true livelihood, especially because, well, I'll just say that another skill set is being a better coach or being a better leader. I say being a better coach because leadership sometimes is used to to talk about domination over other people. So I'll just say being a better coach. By being a better coach, what I mean is even if you are a flat organization where you don't have team members or your team members are all peers, you are a coach to one another. We are each coaches to each other, really, as peers, as friends, as fellow citizens. We are coaches to each other. So let's become better coaches. Coaches meaning we are always helping each other become our better selves. And of course, if you are building a coaching business or a healing business, it really is important for you to learn how to be a better coach so you can facilitate deeper and truer and more lasting transformations. And if you facilitate truer and more lasting transformations in your clients, your word-of-mouth marketing will be much easier, and you'll have to market less. You have to promote less. So it's all connected. And then another area of skill set and growth is spiritual growth as part of true livelihood. Because if you don't focus on your spirituality, you can very easily, really, I think of spirituality as the foundation of all of it. Because if you don't focus and think about your spirituality, it's very easy to be misled into things that compromise values and virtues that you later regret. Okay? So spirituality is really the foundation of all of it. So, and this is what this podcast, Our Highest Work, is all about. I am going to be, right now, my plan for this podcast is to keep alternating on these topics: true livelihood, joyful productivity, authentic marketing, conscious money flow, being a better coach, spiritual growth, and a seventh area I haven't talked about is mindful activism, because I think that's really important. There's a lot of problems in the world these days, and we, every single day in our lives, we're actually making the world better or not. And so mindful activism will be something that we'll talk about. So that's what this podcast is all about. We're going to be just keep alternating between these 7 topics and then come back again and share newer and better insights and then come back again. So this is a wonderful rhythm that will be constantly growing and deeper and more expanded into. So, okay, further additional thoughts about true livelihood, and then we'll wrap up this episode. So how do you know if you're in your true livelihood? The work that you are doing, as I said, it's a cause. It feels worthwhile. You really, really believe the work is worthwhile. So let me ask you right now, do you believe your work is worthwhile? True livelihood also uses your strengths. Is your work using your strengths? Now, I'm not saying that 100% of your work will be using your strengths all the time, but much of the work uses your strengths. You're going to still have to do some things like little technology things, little admin things that don't use your strengths, but you could use your spiritual strengths. You can take, whenever you're doing work that doesn't use your strengths, it's a spiritual growth opportunity. It's where you can bring your mindfulness, your practice mindfulness, practice gratitude, practice excellence, practice love. Really, I mean, when you're using your strengths, it's much easier. You're juiced up, you're passionate. It's much easier to be, mindful and excellent and loving. But when you're doing the mundane stuff, that's when the practice of your soul becomes truly great. So let me actually move on. There are some things. There are a couple of traps about true livelihood. I want to say one of them is prestige, and the other one is money. We could say it's about attention and money. Prestige is, people think I'm so great. Oh, I have a great title, wonderful title, and people think I'm great. That is a trap. If you were to remove the prestige from the title from your work, would you still do the work? And if you are saying, well, yes, because I love the work, then that's much more true livelihood. If it's really the prestige and the title, the work itself is, it may even be questionable work, right? Money is the other big trap. If you're doing it mostly for the money, it's probably not true livelihood. A great question that I saw was, how many corporate lawyers would do it for free and wait tables on the side to support that hobby? How many corporate lawyers would do it for free and just wait tables on the side to support that hobby, or do something else for money to support their corporate lawyering because they say it's such meaningful cause, meaning work for them? Okay, so do it not for money, do it for love, but get so good at it and get so good at your authentic marketing that people love paying you for it. So that's the key. Okay, let's go on, and let me actually share with you 3 activities that allow us to work into our true livelihood. 3 activities, okay? The first one is, and this may sound counterintuitive to what I just said, but remember I said true livelihood is not about doing it for money? But the reality is that you still have to do something for money, right? So this is something that's actually part of true livelihood, which is that you've got to do something for money. You've got to be clear about your financial plan for the next 6 months. Your basic financial plan, and that's why conscious money flow is part of it. By the way, if you want some resources on conscious money flow, just go to Google, just do a Google search on, I have a whole webinar on it. So conscious money flow, George Kao, and you'll find my YouTube video about that. So what is your basic financial plan? How much cushion do you have before you run out of money? Okay? True livelihood, creating money from doing what you love usually takes at least a year, if not longer. Okay? Depending on how much foundation you already have in it. Okay? But it could take a year or longer. Most people take 3 to 5 years plus to create the livelihood from the work they love. I mean, you could borrow money in the short term, but the temptation is that you'll just keep borrowing money, right? So, and borrowing money means you won't be motivated because you just have this cushion of money that you're living on that's really borrowed, and I think it tends to you tend to be not as motivated if you were doing a day job that you don't really love. That motivates you to create your true livelihood, okay? That really motivates you. To create true livelihood in an authentic way. If you are desperate for money and you have to create money in the next month or 2 from the work you love, what happens is you start doing it for money. You start getting desperate. You start doing marketing that's pushy, manipulative, deceptive, and you'll look back and you'll regret it. You really will regret it. So the key is to have financial cushion have that plan down before you really start trying to monetize your true livelihood. So that's really, really important, okay? So, so I'm going to assume that you're doing work right now that for a day job that you don't love, but right, that's not really true livelihood. So that's activity one, is some kind of day job that you don't love, but that brings in the money. If you need a day job, and if you do have a day job that's like that, what you can do is gradually bring your love and your mindfulness and your excellence into what you do for money. As much love and as much mindfulness, as much ethics and excellence as you can into what you do in your day job for money. Okay. And for some of us, it's a business. Like, okay, maybe you don't love doing, freelance writing, but you have to do it for money. You don't love doing it, but people pay you for it. Whatever you do that people pay you for, that's what I call your day job. Do it with as much love, mindfulness, gratitude, excellence, and ethics as you can. Just do that. Okay, that's activity one, your day job. Okay, mindfully. Second activity is to gradually get good at doing what you do love. Moonlighting. Okay, so at night, in the evenings and weekends, whenever you're not doing your day job, this is when you work on the thing that you want to turn into your livelihood, your true livelihood. Work on that. And you have to get so good at your true livelihood that you feel very proud about marketing it, that you feel very proud about making an offer because you know you're damn good, and other people agree that you're damn good at it. Okay? So whether it's writing, you want to become really paid to write, whether you want to be paid to coach on a particular topic, whether you want to be paid to do healing on a particular modality, keep practicing it. Volunteer if you have to, but get people to do it. You do it for free if you have to, until you get so good at it. People go, oh my God, you are such a good healer. That was amazing. Because then you can start getting testimonials and case studies, and you get really clear about what type of healing you do that really works. That really works, and what kind of person you do it for that really gets results, and what area of healing in their life you do that really gets those results, right? So that's the second activity. Gradually get so good at doing what you love that the world can no longer ignore you and won't ignore you anymore. This usually takes at least several months to several years. I'm being conservative for some people. For some artists, it's taken decades to get that good. Okay. The third activity that will shorten that time frame. Okay, this is important. The third activity that will shorten that time frame, instead of taking decades, you can take years, or instead of taking years, you can take months. The third activity is learn marketing and monetization. Learn how to market and monetize your work, and I hope you'll do it authentically, because this is where it gets dangerous. When you are learning marketing and monetization from the experts out there, they are ravenous. I've noticed. Marketing teachers, trainers, experts, authors, coaches, the methods they teach us are ravenous. There is no upper limit to how much money they try to get you to make. 6 figures, 7 figures, whatever. They never set this limit. My limit is to make sure I can meet my needs and support my, I would like to support my aging parents. I'd like to support my wife in her upcoming acupuncture degree and to give her some time off of work. That's sort of my upper limit. I'm not even trying to make millions so I can donate. I actually think that that's another trap. I see a lot of heart-centered people saying, I want to make millions of dollars because then I can support the causes I believe in. And I love that heart. But greed is so subtle and so tricky of a devil that greed actually uses heart-centeredness and deceives you into thinking that you're doing it for a cause. When you start making a lot of money, you're like, maybe now I can buy a second home now. Maybe I could buy a sports car that I don't really need, but why not? Why not? So that's why I said this is where it gets dangerous. You have to set an upper, because here's the thing about the cause, by the way. If you want to support causes, you don't need a lot of money to support causes. You can use your voice and you can use your marketing skills to get lots of people to donate $5 to a cause. And therefore, you won't be being deceived by greed and being deceived by this no upper limit to how much money you're making. Okay, this is how people get so greedy and so afraid of losing their money, right? The world cannot meet everyone's greed, but it can meet everyone's needs says Gandhi, right? So this, again, the third activity is marketing and monetization. So you start learning about all the various ways that that you could do to monetize your art, your work, your coaching, your healing. It can be through writing, right? Ebooks, articles, blogs. It could be through audios like podcasts, etc. It could be through videos. It could be through local networking. It could be through doing in-person speaking. It could be through doing focusing on the word of mouth primarily. So lots and lots of methods. Okay, and so we'll be talking about that over there. So again, learn marketing and monetization, and the key again is to be aware of the trap of prestige and attention, as well as greed and money. It's not about cashing out. That's not true livelihood. Oh, I'm going to cash out so I can sit on the beach for the rest of my life. That's the effort to cashing out creates a person that's ravenous. I plan to work until the day I die, until the day I can't work anymore, maybe dementia or whatever sets in. Until the day I can't work anymore, I'm going to work. I'm not trying to retire. Why retire? No, seriously. I take as many breaks as I need to during the year, vacations, to recover, but this life is about work. This life is not about retirement. This life is about energy management and work, true service and true growth. If you're tired, it doesn't mean you need to retire. It means you need to learn energy management to recover so that you can then do the purpose of life, which is work and true service and true growth. So I really, really disagree with the idea of retirement. I've heard it said that there are 2 dates in a person's life that determines when they'll die. One is the date of their birth, because birth has all kinds of problems attached to it, of course, mortality, but also, problems. The second date that determines when they die is the day they say they're retiring. Because the day they say they're retiring, purpose and meaning get stripped from them. They don't even realize it. Human beings, the souls that we are incarnated into here as human, we're meant to work. We're meant to work, not to retire. And I'm speaking, I know, to a lot of baby boomers right now that it's like, George, what the hell are you telling me? I've been working all my life. It's time for me to have fun and retire. No, it's not. Not from my perspective. It's time for you to do meaningful work that makes you feel alive. And it's time for you to learn how to focus and manage your energy better so you can recover, go on vacations, of course, and then so you can have energy to do all this wonderful work. Yeah. So when you're learning marketing and monetization, an extra caution to apply the values filter is really important. So we'll be talking about this coming episode. So I'll end this episode, which has gone longer than I expected, by saying that community is also really important in creating true livelihood. Because when you're in a community of others who are doing it, you're much more likely to do it. So I really invite you to start participating in our highest work community. One way to start participating is, if you haven't yet posted your introduction, now is the time to do it. Actually read the orientation in our community, which is in the files area. Read the orientation and then post your introduction if you haven't done so. Keep it short. Doesn't have to be long. Keep it short, or as long as you want, really. But you can always edit it later, and you can always repost your introduction after maybe 6 months, so it's okay. So you can always edit it or repost it later. Post your introduction. Let's start having the conversation of how to create our true livelihood. So to get to our community, just go to ourhighestwork.com and then click on community, and all the instructions are there. So to end this episode, I wish you a day forward of clarity, more clarity about your true livelihood, more strength to pursue it, and more joy as you experience the pursuit of your true livelihood. Be well, and until the next episode, keep your thoughts positive.